Oh, it's live, pal.
Sorry.
We will ban you from the Summerfest.
Right here in the Silverdome.
Jeff Harvey.
And I have half the brain that you
do. Welcome to the Wrestle Hunks Podcast, a podcast where three hunks get together and discuss some of the very worst things you can find on the WWE Network. As always, I'm joined by the hunkiest hunk, Brody Price.
Guys, how are we?
Good, thank you, evil Brody.
Just using my full name.
Last week I actually didn't reply to you, how are you, so sorry.
You're very rude.
Yeah, come on, man.
I'm sure if we had more than, like a dozen listeners, they would have been very angry at you snubbing him like that, but luckily we don't.
Craig's looking at you right now like, you are a piece of shit.
Sorry, Craig.
And that other voice you heard is the self-proclaimed IMDb of wrestling, Nathan Marlow.
I haven't got an impression this week, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I have
one coming up later.
Surely you have a Paul Bearer.
I have a Paul Bearer, but I'm not going to do it yet.
It's a little tease for the audience.
Yeah.
We need to be entertained for the main event.
Dallas wasn't. I know that much.
So, the Wrestle Hunks Podcast is brought to you each and every week by the Simon System. And Nat, you're going to tell us a little bit about the Simon System.
Well, you've heard my ad for weeks, and tonight I'm going to show you for yourself. Tonight only, one lucky listener will get a Simon System for free. Use the code Simon Says at the checkout, and you will no longer have to sit down when you pee, sir. And you know what? I always say, Simon says you're going to be a success in life.
Best one yet.
I was not expecting the sit down when you pee line.
Give me the mic back, Simon.
Does that code work on Blue Chew as well?
Blue Chew, the one that was the penis extender.
You know you're a real popular podcast when you're able to sell discount codes for dick pills.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to
Isn't that the dream?
That is the dream. When you have a Patreon and you also sell ad space for dick pills.
My dream is just to get dick pills for cheap.
Yeah, we won't even ask for money or anything.
No, we'll just take them.
We'll just get free product for you, Pricey.
I need it.
Well, for those of you that don't know, this is a show where we dive into the WWE Network, find one of the many things in wrestling history that's a little weird or wacky or just complete garbage, and we review it. This week, we're reviewing Hell in a Cell 2010, one of the very first Hell in a Cell pay-per-views. It was actually the second, and it's in honor of the recently passed Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. What did we all think of this year's Hell in a Cell? I know I haven't seen a single second of it yet, so I don't have an opinion, but what did you two think of it?
I enjoyed it. For the majority, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a pretty good show up until the main event.
And even the main event, it wasn't
that bad,
it was
but
just a bit weird the way it finished.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch a single second of it yet. I'll probably catch it at some stage. I'm sure Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton was a barn burner.
Yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers away for you before you watch it. So
you're probably saying that as a joke, but it was very good.
Yeah.
Was it one of the better matches on the card?
No, it's probably the best match on the card.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Joe AJ's pretty good, but
I mean, I thought all the matches were pretty solid.
Randy Orton's new gimmick.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
No, his heel gimmick. No, his heel gimmick. It's really good now.
Oh, I thought that was a little tease for what was going to happen at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, it becomes the Hurricane.
that would make watching that paper.
I will stop your heroes.
So, as mentioned, Hell in a Cell came out victorious in our Twitter poll to decide what we'll be covering this week. It was one of the tightest races so far. It came out on top with just 34% of the vote, ahead of WCW Super Brawl 4 on 28%. Armageddon 2005 I believe, came in at 23%, and episode 265 of Monday Night Raw finished last on 15%. This means that Pricey, Nat, and the wildcard option have all won a Twitter poll now. Boys, will I ever win a Twitter poll here?
The answer on the note is pretty much sums it up, I would have thought.
Who the fuck wants to watch Spring Stampede or whatever it was, or Super Brawl, or...
Hey, Spring Stampede, underrated. That's all I'll say about that.
Since when are you a WCW, Mark?
I think I've turned into a WCW mark. All my suggestions seem to be WCW related.
Just like the podcast is usually ECW related.
Yeah, this is the first week that we're not covering something from ECW, which feels a little weird. There'll be no Kevin Thorn this week.
Oh, I'll find a way.
That's disappointing.
I hope Kevin Thorn follows us back on Twitter. I followed him and tweeted at him, but he hasn't...
Did you?
Yeah, I tweeted at him. I think I tweeted at him.
Shit.
If not, I need to do that ASAP.
I gotta pretend I got heat with him so we'll have the match.
But I thought Super Brawl was a good option. It came second, so some of the fans agreed. But have you boys seen the Thunder Cage? Their version of Hell in a Cell?
No.
Oh, it looks like something that you would make at home for your own action figures. It's so weird looking.
WCW.
That's WCW in like 1994 for you.
Wrestling.
So had either of you boys seen Hell in a Cell 2010 before watching it for this episode?
Not live, but I watched it when the network came out.
Wow, commitment. Going back and watching the classics.
It was just one, because we watched Bragging Rights live, so for some reason I wanted to watch what happened before that.
That's true. We also watched the TLC of that year.
Yes,
live,
we did.
So just getting some context for those two good pay-per-views.
Wow, Nexus marks.
I was a big Nexus mark at the time. What about you, Pricey? Had you seen it?
No, from memory, I definitely didn't watch it live, I know that, but even just the matches, I couldn't really remember these happening until I watched the pay-per-view. I was like, oh yeah, those feuds were happening then, but yeah, it's not really. I don't think I watched it at all, really.
Yeah, I didn't remember hardly anything about the Undertaker and Kane match, and I'm gonna be honest, didn't even know that Sheamus and Randy Orton, that's it. Almost forgot Randy. That they had a Hell in a Cell. So yeah, this is really a forgettable pay-per-view, not something that people really remember. I think probably the Wade Barrett and Cena match is, I reckon, the most remembered match, just because of the implications of that stipulation. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, that's definitely the match that I remember the most. Like not obviously I didn't watch it, but watching Raw the night after, just to sort of see what happened and whether or not he was part of the Nexus or not. I definitely remember that.
So you're saying you don't remember Edge versus Jack Swagger or Michelle McCool and Natalia?
I mean, one of them wasn't even announced, so I definitely didn't remember it.
Oh, bad luck.
I know
you missed out.
We were all excited when that impromptu Edge versus Jack Swagger match happened, weren't we?
I marked out a little bit when the Raw GMs thing went off.
I jumped out of my seat, to be honest.
Always exciting.
So it's time to move into the history, background, and build-up to Hell in a Cell 2010. This event was held on October 3, 2010. This day in history was the 19th Commonwealth Games opening in Delhi, India. I know you boys are tuned in for that one.
I don't even remember them being.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that either.
The shitty sequel to the 2006 Melbourne Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, must have been.
That was the GOAT Commonwealth Games, and ever since then,
I genuinely don't remember it being in India.
Yeah, neither do I.
I remember it because I think they had cricket in it. I think. I don't know if I'm making that up, but yeah, I didn't watch any of it. We also had on this day Abraham Sarmiento Sr., a Filipino Supreme Court jurist, dying at 88. Ben Mondor, a Canadian-born American baseball executive, was...
Oh,
did he die? It says here born, but it doesn't say when he.
You've done your research.
He was born in
question is,
1925, so I'm assuming that's just his
Yeah,
birthday.
it could be his birthday.
Yeah, I think that's just when he was
let's go with
born.
that.
I was just saying, what? He was born in 2010? I don't know if that makes sense. And because we said last week, some of the facts happening on the day were kind of shitty.
Well, that just showed. So
We got some numbers of what was going on the charts. So Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars was number 1 on the charts at this time, and The Social Network was number 1 at the box office.
never seen it.
Oh, you're missing out on a classic flick.
Is that the one with what's his name?
Jesse Eisenberg?
Is that the guy from Superbad?
No, I don't think so.
Is that a completely different movie?
I think so.
Pretty sure. You think of The Wolf of Wall Street?
I don't know. Fucking no idea. I don't know.
No,
How
The
many
Social
boys
Network's
does-
about
The one with is it Michael Cera?
No, Michael Cera is not in The Social Network.
What's the one that he's in? That's
What?
oh,
He's in
don't
a lot
worry.
of movies.
Don't worry.
He's
Yeah,
in a lot of
don't,
movies now.
that's pretty broad.
So yeah, The Social Network starring Michael Cera is number 1 at the box office.
One of you boys want to give us your rendition of Just the Way You Are?
No,
Surely not.
no,
Surely
no.
Just
I'm
the
not
Way You
pulling
Are,
that
sung
out.
by Paul Bearer.
No. If I had have known you wanted me to do it beforehand, I would practice it. So
You could have done
Maybe
it
I'll
as,
look out for
in
that.
English.
Next week.
So Hell in a Cell 2010 was held at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. The reported attendance was 7,500, and the
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
I'm going to chuck in a big fact that I've revealed to evil Brody Price.
What is it?
Do you want to know the similarities of this pay-per-view to another pay-per-view?
Go for it. I'm
Well,
interested to hear.
The 7,500 attendance, pretty small, wouldn't you think?
Small-ish.
Well, it's only 3,000 off December to Dismember 2006.
How many did? So you're saying it did?
4,800.
Geez, yeah, that.
But that's not the only similarity. This card has the same amount of matches.
Really?
6 matches.
I'm impressed that you figured that out. Like you noticed that.
I did a 1 ounce of research.
He told
That's
me
enough for the month.
He told me before the show he's written down notes. I think that's the only thing he wrote, but still impressive.
I'm just having a look at the capacity for the American Airlines Center at the moment, and it says its capacity is 20,000. I assume that's when it's set up for a Dallas Mavericks game. Do you reckon
assume so.
that means that this pay-per-view undersold? Because surely their like entranceway in the ring aren't taking out over half the seats in the arena.
You wouldn't think so, and you get some more on the floor. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think they haven't. Sold
Yeah,
out the ring.
mustn't have sold very well. The
December to
pay-per-view,
Dismember 2.0.
not quite. We didn't have Paul Heyman being fired after this event.
Yeah, but we got Paul Bearer.
Somebody should have been fired after the main event of this, just quietly.
Paul Bearer.
So this pay-per-view drew 210,000 buys, a decrease on the 2009 buy rate of Hell in a Cell, which did 283,000. However, this was significantly up compared to the other non-Big Four pay-per-view buy rates for 2010. It was the second highest of non-Big Four pay-per-views, with Elimination Chamber taking up the top spot. That drew 272,000 buys. A side note that I just wanted to add in here was that Survivor Series only did 240,000 buys that year, so didn't manage to top Elimination Chamber and barely
Wait,
topped
is that
Hell in a Cell.
2009 Survivor Series?
That's 2010 Survivor Series.
Oh, okay. Yep.
The other Big Four pay-per-views did relatively well, but yeah, Survivor Series, terrible performance. Speaking of terrible performance, the pay-per-view prior to this was Night of Champions, and that event did just 165,000 buys.
Jesus.
So that's not great.
What's that in comparison to December to Dismember?
Jeez, what did December to Dismember do?
That was like 50,000, wasn't it? That was like terrible.
It did, yeah. It was
Or something like that.
December to Dismember was the lowest in history if you don't count like the more recent ones after the network was just launched. But if you give me a sec, I can have a look.
90,000.
Geez, 90,000. That's
It's not that far off.
90,000 for an ECW pay-per-view with 2 announced matches and Night of Champions, which has every single title on the line, and that's only doing 165,000 buys. That's terrible.
Jesus.
The card for that pay-per-view, for those interested, was Dolph Ziggler defeating Kofi Kingston in a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship, Big Show defeating CM Punk, Daniel Bryan defeating The Miz by submission in a United States Championship match, Michelle McCool defeating Melina in a Lumberjill match to unify the WWE Women's and WWE Divas Championships, Kane defeated The Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes won a tag team turmoil match for the WWE Tag Team Championships, and then Randy Orton defeated Sheamus, Wade Barrett, John Cena, Edge, and Chris Jericho in a 6-pack Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. So, I don't know, that seems like a decent enough card. Surely you could do better than 165,000 buys.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
You just caught me off guard because
Speechless.
that card's so much bigger than this one. Wait, is it?
Oh, it's definitely got way more matches on it.
It's only got one more match.
Doesn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
It seems like it's got more, but like, you think of it, it's got Orton, Cena, Edge, Jericho, Kane and Undertaker, Big Show. Like, those are pretty big names, all featured on the card. And
a few of those guys weren't on Hell in a Cell, were they?
Pardon?
A few of those guys weren't on Hell in a Cell. Like Jericho wasn't.
CM Punk wasn't. Ziggler, Kingston, and the tag match that was on Night of Champions. They were on the pre-show, I think.
There was like no undercard on this event. Like, where was, like, you would have expected Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston to be on a pay-per-view card in 2010. Same with Punk, Big Show. So it's just weirdly booked.
No, Big Show got a pretty big spot in the John Cena match.
Yeah, I thought he was coming out to like join the Nexus or something. Then I was like, I wasn't sure where they were going with this. But as I mentioned earlier, this was the second annual Hell in a Cell event. At this time, WWE was kind of pushing real hard and going all in on having most of their pay-per-views have a singular gimmick. Stuff like Fatal 4-Way, Bragging Rights, Breaking Point were popping up at this time. What did you boys think of these formats kind of structuring an entire pay-per-view around one sort of gimmick?
I absolutely hate it. I feel like I've spoken to you about this before. I'm not too sure. When we were sort of growing up, the mid-2000s or even before then, all pay-per-views, it was sort of just a name, and then like the rivalry or feud would dictate whether or not it warranted a Hell in a Cell match and things like that.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot more sense to me. Like, it kind of worked out perfectly now for the like Hardy and Orton. That made sense. But even Strowman and Reigns, it's like, I know they've feuded before, but things like that, it's just like, oh, this is a new feud, but they're going to be in a Hell in a Cell because it's October or September.
Yeah. Some feuds they're really stretching to fit into those gimmick matches, and it just really doesn't make much sense.
Wait, so Brody, you're saying you didn't enjoy Breaking Point 2009, Legacy versus DX?
Honestly, I can't remember. But wait, was that a gimmick match? Or was it just
that was Breaking Point submission match?
It was a submission count anywhere match. I'm pretty sure.
Submission counts anywhere.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
My memory's not good at the best of times, so I don't really. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
We'll have to watch that one day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch a lot of the gimmick matches that they had like in this era. Like, I don't think I watched the first Bragging Rights. I've definitely never seen Fatal 4-Way. Never seen a Breaking Point pay-per-view.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I've watched any of them either.
It was a real low point for like pay-per-views. Like, remember Over the Limit? They pushed Over the Limit hard for a little bit.
Was there a gimmick for that as well?
No, but it was just a random new name, and they're like, here we go, we'll push this for a few years, and then it was dead.
Give me Unforgiven or something like that. I'd much rather that.
Is Fastlane still around?
Yes.
Yeah, that was this year. They had one, didn't they?
I like Roadblock. That's cool.
Roadblock's a kind of a cool name.
And they had it as like a network special. Like when they had it, the Dean Ambrose versus Triple H one.
Oh, that was.
That's that was like a cool network special.
Because they came back with Roadblock End of the Line.
Yes, that was the end of the year.
Yeah, that made sense.
And they refused to call it anything but Roadblock End of the Line. You couldn't just call it Roadblock. Had to be end of the line.
You get confused with the one at the start of the year, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So, going into this show, the main rivalry for the Raw brand featured the new champion Randy Orton against former champion Sheamus in a Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship. At Night of Champions, Orton won the championship in a six-pack challenge against Chris Jericho, Edge, John Cena, Wade Barrett, and Sheamus, following a winning streak leading up to the pay-per-view. The following night on Raw, Sheamus invoked his rematch clause for the championship, and the Raw general manager agreed to the match, allowing it to be contested in Hell in a Cell. The main rivalry from the SmackDown brand featured champion Kane against The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match for the World Heavyweight Championship. The storyline saw Kane attack The Undertaker to put him in a vegetative state and steal his powers. Do you remember this vegetative state bullshit?
Yeah, I wrote it down in the main event.
Oh, man, this was a real low point for Undertaker and Kane's career.
It is.
So this led to Kane dominating The Undertaker. At Night of Champions, Kane faced The Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match, which we mentioned earlier, and Kane won. In an attempt to get rid of The Undertaker for good, Kane challenged him to a Hell in a Cell match, a match originally conceived by The Undertaker, and the match which Kane actually made his debut in. A returning Paul Bearer reunited with The Undertaker on the September 24 episode of SmackDown, which restored his powers. And this match on the card has become slightly infamous, and it's one of the reasons it's basically the entire reason we're covering this event, because it's widely regarded as one of the very worst Hell in a Cell matches. What would you boys consider to be your personal best and worst Hell in a Cell match you've ever seen?
Ooh, wasn't prepared for that.
Worst. I've actually gone back and watched the Big Boss Man Undertaker one. I watched that when I was pretty young as well. I remember watching that, and that's a stinker. I don't know. That one didn't make sense to me. The best.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen the Undertaker Big Boss Man one. And if you're counting the Kennel of Hell or Kennel from Hell as a Hell in a Cell, I haven't seen that either. I think, honestly, not spoiling my thoughts on the main event too much, that probably is the worst Hell in a Cell match I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's definitely my worst Hell in a Cell match. Probably then the Boss Man one. Best one, I'm gonna say two sleepers. Batista Triple H.
Yeah, good call.
And I kind of like, I don't know how, I haven't watched it in a while, but the Kevin Nash Triple H one.
Wow.
And there's also the Brock Lesnar Undertaker one as well.
Those are some underrated picks.
Do they have two matches in Hell in a Cell?
Who's this?
Brock and Taker. They had one in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, that was the one. I mean that one. Yeah, I mean the first one. The second one was like later on.
They did have a second one though, yeah?
Yeah, like Hell in a Cell like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think... oh, sorry, you go, Pricey.
Little shout out. This might be recency bias, but I think the Usos and the New Day last year had a really good one.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was good.
I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think Triple H and Batista, that one from a while ago was pretty good.
I think Brandon's best one was the Unforgiven 2006 one.
I was literally about to say that. I love Unforgiven 2006. Like, I love it.
I got a big soft spot for it.
I'm a huge mark for it. It's probably not that good, but I remember it fondly. My pick Sorry, go.
I'll just give a little shout out. That you said that pay-per-view was really good. I watched that live. We'll give a shout out to Jack if he's listening. I watched it with him live. Huge John Cena mark. And that was the main event, wasn't it? Cena and Edge?
Cena and Edge in the TLC.
Yeah, great pay-per-view.
He would have busted his nut on that.
Oh, 100%. Man.
Edge taking his first L in a TLC match.
Yeah.
Must-see television.
Marking out for sure.
But yeah, my personal favourite Hell in a Cell match, it's cliche, but it's probably the Armageddon Hell in a Cell. 6-man.
That's shit.
That's shit, you reckon? It's iconic.
Yeah, but go back and watch it and you'll realise it's not good.
I did rewatch it recently, but yeah. It wasn't
great.
as great, but I don't know, I like it. It's just such a weird thing.
I mean, that's probably why they made the chamber, so they could have like a cage match with multiple people instead of having that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if I've ever watched that match, actually.
Oh, we should definitely watch that.
It's definitely worth watching just for like the spectacle of it.
What are you boys doing Friday night? Let's go get together and watch it.
I'm going to watch the Tigers win.
Oh, here we go. Do we want to get into this? Or?
After that's done, the main show will start, and that's Armageddon Hell in a Cell.
That's what we're talking about.
So the other main event rivalry on this show was from Raw, and it involved John Cena and Wade Barrett, who was the leader of a group of former NXT rookies known as the Nexus. Since their creation, the Nexus had assaulted several wrestlers on Raw, but focused mainly on Cena, causing him to lose several championship matches. At Night of Champions, the Nexus attacked Cena, which allowed Barrett to eliminate him from the six-pack challenge. And the next day on Raw, both Cena and Barrett agreed to a match, with the stipulation being that if Barrett was to win, Cena would join the Nexus. If Cena won, however, the Nexus would be forced to disband, which leads us into Hell in a Cell 2010, the actual show itself. And boys, I know we wait for this every week, the number of dead people on this show is 1, the lowest so far.
That's just so recent.
It's getting lower. That's what we're hoping for, as low as possible. I'm guessing it's Paul Bearer.
Yeah, I actually, when I was doing my notes, I skimmed the match card, and I'm like, oh, it's 0 this week. And then as soon as the main event hit, I'm like, oh, Paul Bearer. I had to almost miss that.
I thought you were going to say Michael Tarver.
Michael Tarver's career is certainly dead. Him physically,
I've got some interesting Michael Tarver facts coming up later.
I cannot wait.
That's another tease. Jesus.
It is. Good tease.
You're getting good at this thing, teasing stuff for later in the show.
I'm getting good at making notes for my own topic.
So we kick off this show with some pyro, and surprisingly, the entranceway here is actually sort of unique, with kind of, the Hell in a Cell type structure, support beams on the ramp. I was genuinely shocked to see a unique setup here, because I thought at this time they'd basically done away with having setups like this.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I enjoyed it. I thought the same thing. I couldn't really remember when they started to sort of change it to sort of just a generic setup, but it was, you could definitely tell it was Hell in a Cell, and it was something.
It's not that special.
On SmackDown.
Not that special. They just got rid of the old cages that they used because they started using that new one.
Yeah, they actually do mention that it's a new Hell in a Cell. It's not an amazing setup, and it's definitely nothing like, I guess, like the heyday of the early 2000s where everything was unique. But yeah, it shocked me because I could have sworn by this time they were just using real generic stages.
Yeah, at least it was something different.
It was something. They gave us a little bit of something, which is better than nothing, I guess. For this event, we've got Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and Matt Striker on commentary. Todd Grisham is the commentator getting the shaft. Apparently, he was the SmackDown announcer at this time, and he didn't get a gig on pay-per-view, unfortunately. Would you boys have preferred if he was getting a gig here?
I would have said to him, Todd, bite this. Sorry,
I'd say Matt Striker. He was definitely a lot better on Triple Mania.
With Vampiro?
Where's my fucking music?
There wasn't a lot of great things about that show, but I guess you could call Matt Striker one of the good things, I guess.
The saving grace.
Yeah.
I just want to say that Todd Grisham, out of all of the commentators that were on Sunday Night Heat, he was definitely one of them.
He certainly was.
Who did it with him?
I don't even remember. Maybe Jonathan Coachman?
Probably Val Venus.
Val Venus was a main eventer on Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, because fucking he grew his hair out.
Just a side note here. I've never seen a single second of Velocity, I think. Who's the commentary team on Velocity?
No idea.
Question. I have no idea.
I used to watch a lot of Heat, but did Fox 8 ever play Velocity here in Australia?
I have no idea. I don't remember ever watching it.
I feel like they might have after SmackDown, on Sundays.
I hope so, because Velocity had a cool setup. That green.
Yeah, that was cool.
Looking real schmick.
Yeah, I can't remember. That's a good question.
But moving on to our first match of the night here.
What is Morrison going to do here from the top rope? Miz and Bryan just coming to John Morrison. The impact seemed to hit Daniel Bryan on the left shoulder. That had to be some 10 to 15 feet in the air.
What is Morrison thinking? He may have broken his own ribs.
It's Daniel Bryan defeating John Morrison and The Miz by submission to retain his United States Championship in a triple threat submissions count anywhere match. This match goes 13 and a half minutes, and Dave Meltzer gives it 3.5 stars. Miz is the Money in the Bank winner here, and Cole is kind of a Miz mark here, but he hasn't gone full Miz mark yet. What do we think of the match?
Yeah, solid opener. Three guys that are pretty solid in the ring. One thing I did want to bring up is John Morrison's entrance. I kind of forgotten how the slow motion, the fireworks going off behind him.
Slow-mo Jomo.
I literally have that written down. Is that a thing? I thought I was being clever, but I enjoyed that. That was one of the shining lights. But
Yeah, just want to thank John Morrison for that $83 I just made on eBay off him.
Yeah, shout out to that guy in Portugal that bought the John Morrison wrestling figure off you.
Abrantes, no.
can you say the address that you sent it to now?
I don't know it off by heart, but the suburb is in Abrantes in Portugal.
Wow.
You know what you need to do? When you sell wrestling figures on eBay, you need to include a little like a little business card about a podcast.
Yeah.
Please start
that
doing
would
that.
actually be good. That actually would be a good idea.
That could be a good way to get some more listeners.
Oh, they'll listen for sure.
You know what? I'll actually consider doing that.
I would love it so much if you did that.
Cheap plug.
Also, one thing about this match I wanted to ask is, because The Miz sort of uses the figure 4 now, but at the time, did either of them have a reason to be in a submission match?
I don't think so. That's what I said. In my notes here, I've got this stipulation is super random for these participants. Like you, I thought, oh, maybe Miz has the figure 4, but I don't think he'd done that whole thing with Ric Flair where Flair gave him the figure 4 yet. So it's kind of random.
They really should have just had a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just do that.
Yeah, it would have made more sense, but
Yeah, does Miz even use a submission at all in this match?
he uses the handrail in the crowd,
Oh yeah, he does
Okay.
use that. Yeah.
like a dragon sleeper on Morrison, I think. But that apart from that, I can't
Actually, yeah,
remember.
that was actually a pretty cool spot. I like that spot.
Yeah.
Side headlock 3.
I know Jomo uses a bunch of different submissions. He uses a cloverleaf as well. There's a few other random ones, but yeah, Miz doesn't even really do any submission stuff. It kind of just set up for Bryan to win here. I guess in a Falls Count Anywhere match, can you not win by submission?
It's Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe,
they literally did that so Daniel Bryan had a way to win and for the crowd to pop.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Overall, my thoughts on the match, I like the story here, kind of with The Miz having history with both Jomo and Bryan. It's you look at it and it's kind of a random match,
Yeah.
but then I don't know. I feel like it just works well.
Yeah, I forgot all about it, and then the commentary mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense for this match.
I feel like at this point in the WWE, John Morrison was just getting thrown into heaps of random triple threat title matches.
Oh, the
Because-
WWE Championship one with R-Truth and Cena.
There's also another one that he's thrown in with The Miz, and it's either Cena or Orton. I scrolled through some of the pay-per-views after this, and yeah, that's one of them. It's he was kind of the guy just throw him into the triple threat.
Do you guys think that do you reckon they missed a chance by not having him as the world champion? I know there was he was sort of around the mark around this time, but do you reckon he could have been the top guy or not?
I think if he was able to cut a decent promo, he would 100% would have been a world champion.
Yeah,
I just didn't like him.
really.
I wasn't a big fan of him, but just looking at him, trying to be, objective, not trying to have my biases from back then. He's got a good look. He's pretty hot with the crowd. He does a lot of spots that easily pop the crowd. You could see why you'd want him to be champion. It's just I guess the character kind of stuff was holding him back.
Yeah.
Hot take: Miz's merch sucks.
Miz,
Is that a hot take?
yeah, Miz does.
He's never had one piece of good merch. See those bloody sunglasses he's selling now? Those are terrible too.
I don't know if that's a hot take. I agree. His merch is pretty garbage.
Well, something that Daniel Bryan has in common with him is that his merch since coming back has been hot garbage. And then,
Nice segue.
and then to round it out, actually, John Morrison had some dog shit merch as well. What about his Jomo Sapiens "We're Gonna Eat Your Lunch" shirt? You literally cannot find on eBay.
We were trying to look for it yesterday.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. Like,
No,
We're gonna eat your lunch. I don't understand.
it's gonna win the world title and steal your lunch.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm still not sure what that means, and I don't know why the WWE thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
In general, the WWE have some really poor merch at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, I don't think there's any merch at the moment that'd be like, yeah, I want to buy that. Like, Super
Like they-
Showdown's coming up. Like, I wouldn't buy anything there.
Like they just re-released that Undisputed Era shirt with Roddy Strong's name on it. They didn't really change it.
I mean, I bought an Adam Cole Bebe shirt, so
Oh, that one's cool though.
yeah.
NXT seem to have, like, some decent designs. I feel like they surely have a different designer than the main roster, because the main roster stuff's...
No, the Velveteen shirt's dog shit.
Is it? I haven't even seen a Velveteen shirt.
It's think of the Nexus shirt, but that's all purple, and that design goes all the way down the shirt, and it's one of those hard designs.
I'm gonna have a look at this here. See this? Oh, okay. Is this the one that says Velveteen and it's got a big V on it?
Yeah, it's purple.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, and that it's like the material, like the design's really hard, so it's like uncomfortable on your skin.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be the John Cena, the Champ is Here United States Championship shirt that has the belt on the shirt.
Yeah, nice.
So it could be that. I'm just having a look at that here.
You guys want to treat yourself? You want to treat yourself to a Kairi Sane shirt?
Sure, she has a shirt as well. Jeez, what is it?
Why are you trying to plug
Saying,
that?
"Hi-oh."
Why do you keep trying to plug that to me?
I wanted you to make the Kairi Sane sound.
Hiya!
That's all.
Put her in a stable with Paul Burchill.
Just a bunch of pirates.
Overall, I thought they used the stipulation well here. The action in the crowd and kind of entrance area is pretty good. I think Morrison gets to shine here because of his flippy dippy parkour bullshit. You reckon? Like, these kind of matches made for him.
Yeah.
Maybe they put the set there just so we could jump off it.
That's what I was thinking when he started climbing it. I'm like, did they put this here just so like Morrison had something to jump off of?
It was impressive. Like, just climbing up like the LED thing was pretty cool. I didn't think he'd climb up that from memory. I didn't think he did that, but it was pretty cool.
What would we give me some star ratings for this, boys?
Star rating? Oof.
I
I'd probably
2.5.
go just a flat 3, not a 3.5 like Meltzer, but just a 3.
What
I
did you
thought
say,
it was-
Pricey?
I had 2.5.
I also had 2.5.
I think it's a solid opener that it probably could have done with a little bit longer. I thought maybe 5 to 7 more minutes, especially based on like later on they have a few segments that are clearly there to pad for time. It's like just give that time to this match. It seems so simple and they never do it.
Yeah, you're right. Those 3 pretty good in the ring. They probably could have used it, but it's the way it goes.
So the finish of this match involves Alex Riley, the Miz's rookie in NXT at this point, making a run-in mid-match to stop a John Morrison submission. Bryan then throws Alex Riley into a cameraman, locks in the label lock on the Miz, and gets the win. This then leads into our first Hell in a Cell match of the night, which is Randy Orton defeating Sheamus via pinfall in the Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship.
It is 20 feet tall and weighs 5 tons. It is a new and improved cell, redesigned last year to make it difficult to escape its wrath. It is perverted, repulsive, dangerous, and career-threatening.
This goes 22 minutes and 50 seconds, the longest match on the card, I believe. And Dave Meltzer gave it 3.25 stars. My first thought about this match, it was actually before the match started, it was in the promo package. I thought Sheamus and Randy Orton both look weird as fuck. Like, Randy is basically skin bald for his hair, and Sheamus has his weird ass hair and facial hair combo going.
He definitely dyed his hair, Sheamus.
Yeah, it looked like dark red, didn't it?
Yeah, he was trying to get to a brown.
Yeah, it looked weird.
Like,
I like Orton with the bald look. I don't know, it looks more.
I was just so not used to it because I'm used to him like having the kind of look he has at the moment, and then when I see him basically bald, I'm like, geez, wasn't expecting that.
One thing I noticed as well, when Sheamus came in, I forgot how shit that song was.
What?
Lobster
Do you
head.
like it? In comparison to his one now, I think that one sounds terrible. It sounds gimmicky.
You're not a fan of Too Many Limes?
Too many lines? No, not a fan at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not a great theme.
Insert theme here.
A little note for Brandon.
But yeah, I was just thrown off about that. I also was thrown off with in the promo package, Sheamus claims that he's ended Triple H's career, which 8 years on I find pretty humorous, considering Triple H is going to be wrestling the Undertaker in about 2 weeks' time. So that career-ending injury didn't really last.
You didn't do a good job, Sheamus.
He did a dog shit job, to be honest. Yeah. I didn't even realise he was injured at this point. So, as they're lowering the cell here, they say it's new and redesigned version of the cell, which we alluded to a little earlier. Sorry, and they say it's designed to make it more difficult to escape. Does this? They say it's redesigned. Does this look bigger than the last one, or am I just like tripping here?
No, it's definitely bigger. Definitely bigger.
I feel like it's real big, and then like I don't know. You boys watched the 2018 Hell in a Cell. Is the one that they have now smaller?
No, it's the same, but it's red.
Is it really still the same?
It's the same, but I think the red with the color, it kind of made, everyone was saying it kind of made the cell seem a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Just because of the color.
Yeah, I don't know, like, here, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I hadn't watched the Hell in a Cell for a while, but I was thinking, like, this looks huge. Like, did Shane jump off that? I was just shocked at how big it looked.
I'm pretty sure it's the same one that Shane would have jumped off of, which is kind of scary.
You should go take your tape measure.
Get it out, get the old yardstick and walk it out.
Get the IKEA little 1 meter little measuring tape, and just knock on the door and say, Vince, can you let me have a measure?
I'll just I'll use my arm instead, like try to hold it perfectly at 1 meter, and then do that in intervals.
Yeah, that always works.
That always is a foolproof method to measure something.
It definitely doesn't half off.
Brandon's he's not a builder, guys, if anyone was wondering.
I'm a build guy.
He's a wood guy.
I built a spice rack in woodwork in about year 8. Painted it blue, thank you very much.
I remember that.
It was good, it worked.
Yeah, that's why Placo hired you, so...
Good wood guy.
In the match, I didn't notice in the first one, I don't even know if it was there, but in this match I noticed that the WWE logo is just like in the middle of the screen, and I'd forgotten that like because they did this because not everybody had HD TV in 2010. It's so weird that it's just like floating in the middle.
I thought you meant...
Where was this? What do you mean?
Do you mean like not in the bottom corner, like slightly more?
Yeah, so you know how like the WWE logo, they always have it in the bottom corner.
Yep.
But here it's just in the middle of the screen.
Oh, okay.
Because that's like set up because of they were HD, but they also weren't HD because some people were still with the old box TVs.
They were still STD.
They were still STD. But yeah, it was just when I first noticed that it was off-putting. I'm like, I want this logo in the middle of the screen, but then I just forgot about it, so it was really kind of pointless. Here we see Orton winning after an RKO on the steel steps. Did you boys notice that he does a weird little spasm kind of seizure after he hits this final RKO?
I mean, he does all those sort of things, doesn't he? When he's in the ring.
He's really a big fan of just weird movements.
He's just trying to get over the fact that he's the apex predator. He doesn't even know what he's going to do. He's crazy.
I'd just like to ask, is Randy the face here?
Randy is the face here for some reason.
Why?
Because he's cool.
I thought he was a heel at this stage. I really did. So I just didn't understand. And like, Sheamus isn't that bad. So why am I angry at him?
I didn't even remember Orton being like world champion in 2010. So like this whole feud, this whole match was just confusing to me.
I'm also gonna say, you go, Pricey.
Sheamus is the heel because he's not from here.
Especially in Texas. Being not from here, that's definitely a good way to get heat.
I'm also gonna say, early on in the match, the cameraman get in the way a lot. Like, they're in bad spots outside the ring. Like, it really put me off.
Orton he told one of them to move.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
They just, I don't know what it was. It was just, I don't know, first match of the night. And they didn't do very well.
They were just warming up,
Maybe it was their debut in the cell, They never done any cameraing in there.
Yeah, the cell changes you, man.
Yeah, you got to do better cameraing.
I was about to ask you, Nat, if you were a YouTube commenter, what would you say about their camera work?
This show needs better cameraing.
Do you know about that, Pricey?
Sorry,
that reference?
Well, I had a stage where I was just trying to build a YouTube channel. And just for some fucking reason, I was just recording wrestling GIFs.
Yeah, he wouldn't even put up videos, he'd put up GIFs.
And this one, it was of Kurt Angle's Angle Slam. And it's so laggy. The guys commented, do better cameraing.
Jeez, that would have hurt your feelings a little bit.
The weird thing though,
that made me shut down my channel. Yeah, I had a lot of views.
Some of his weird GIFs, they were just literally GIFs, like 3 seconds long, and they would have thousands of views. I'm like, what's going on?
So you had 3-second YouTube clips.
Right. You know what? While we're waiting, I'll get it up.
Surely that YouTube channel doesn't exist anymore.
Is it? If that's still going, I'm gonna subscribe to it right now.
He also
Please don't, because I have my Photoshop work on there. It's kind of embarrassing.
You also had a video of a GIF of Milhouse like throwing the frisbee by himself, and it was like the video was called like Milhouse Sad or something.
I'm gonna have to say this.
Hey, it could be worse. You could have had a YouTube channel where you made stop motion wrestling figure videos.
Oh,
hey, I thought that was cool.
Hey, that was the thing that I did, and then the channel was deleted.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. I got pretty good at that stop motion shit for a bit there.
That's copyright. You can't use the WWE's likeness. Oh my god!
Have you found this YouTube channel yet, or what now?
I have. I don't want to tell you the name of it.
Let the fans know.
Nah, I'm not going to do it. But do you want to know how much views the Angle Slam has?
How many?
You'll never believe this. 10,000.
Wow.
Oh my god.
10,000 sad sacks. Is the cameraing comment still there?
Give me a sec. It has no sound. I don't know why I'm trying to mute it. It's a fucking GIF.
Surely that comment's still there.
My internet's taken a while. I'm sorry.
I can't believe I'm learning these things about you two. This is...
We really tried to be a part of WWE YouTube,
It says at the top of the page, unregistered Hypercam 2.
Is it a really huge one as well?
Yep. And then the description, performed by Kurt Angle and Big Show. This is Brandon's comments on it. Did you film this with a potato? What are you on about? The cameraing is amazing.
Is that what you said?
This person said the camera he used to film is messed up graphics. Nice screenshots. And the best comment, should have did better cameraing. And what about the classic one, Brandon? Wow.
Is that where Wayo came from?
Does that mean, like, does this video qualify for, like, ads?
Definitely, if you had to put ads on that, you would have made at least, I don't want to say $5 from that.
I could probably get the account back.
Let's promote it.
I've got 13 subscribers on it.
Yeah.
Booker T's Spinneroonie, 500 views. That was recorded with my actual video, my digital camera.
Why did the Kurt Angle one take off?
No idea.
People were desperate for
my F5 one that goes for 5 seconds. It's got 2,000 views.
What the fuck is going on?
All right, so back to Hell in a Cell 2010.
Yeah,
My overall thoughts for this match here. I'm not a big fan of Randy Orton or Sheamus, so this match was never going to really do much for me. I thought it was, for the most part, it was pretty boring and slow, which I guess is kind of be expected. Sheamus and Orton both work really slow paces in general, I think, and putting them together isn't really ideal for me personally. What did you boys think of the match?
I'm in the same boat as you. Orton and Sheamus, especially now, I'm not really big into watching them wrestle a singles match, but I can see why the crowd was into it, and at the time. So I've given it like a 2.5 to 3 around that mark for the rating, but I wasn't overly moved by the match.
I found it's a boring cell match, but it's a decent match.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
The cell's kind of just there. It's not really utilised, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with matches kind of just being shoehorned into the Hell in a Cell without real a proper build-up because of the whole idea of having a pay-per-view centered around the one match type. So
yeah,
that's kind of the problem you get with having Hell in a Cell matches every single year.
I also gave this match 3 stars.
Wow, just dishing the stars out.
I thought it was a good match. It wasn't anything amazing.
Personally, I probably would give it 2 stars maximum. Just it didn't do it for me.
Tough grader.
You know what? If it was in the Tokyo Dome, maybe higher, but it was in the American Airlines Center, so
that's
2
a tough
stars.
cheese grater.
So after the match, Orton climbs the Hell in a Cell to pose, and Orton's Celebrate goes on for an eternity here. Overall, the pay-per-view only goes for 2 hours and 42 minutes, so it's clear that they're stalling for time here. I don't understand why you would have him celebrate so long, but then give the opener so little time.
I mean, I thought the visual of him standing up there was cool, but then after like 5 seconds, I was like, oh, is this going to end? Or it just kept going. I couldn't believe, did they show a replay in between and then they just cut back to him doing it for longer?
Yeah, so he goes up there, he celebrates, which is cool, whatever, but then they cut to it's got to be like the 3rd replay of the finish, and then he's still up there, and then he climbs down, and then he celebrates a little bit more, and then we cut away. It just feels like it goes forever.
Yeah, it definitely took a while.
I did have in my notes here, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to ask you boys about, did you think the importance and significance of the Hell in a Cell has kind of dropped since the creation of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? Because from 1997 to 08, there were 16 Hell in a Cell matches in total, and then since 2008, there have been 24, which is like a pretty big, significant jump. In 11 years, you have 16, and now in 8 years, you've had 24.
Yeah, like I said before, it just doesn't make sense if the rivalry, if the feud doesn't warrant a Hell in a Cell match. I just don't see why you need to use it. I get that it's sort of like a yearly thing, and they want to people will see the Hell in a Cell match and they might watch the pay-per-view, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Considering it's lasted since 2009, I don't think it's missed a year. It's almost coming up to its 10th year in existence. It's got to be doing well for the company for them to have it stick around. So I guess from that kind of aspect, it's doing well. But I think the Hell in a Cell is kind of downgraded in importance. And then when Shane and Taker have a Hell in a Cell at Mania, it's kind of we've already seen at least 2 of those type of matches in a year, so it's not as special.
Exactly. that's what the problem is. I think it takes away from when it's necessary. Like when Triple H and Undertaker had theirs at Mania 28, it sort of just takes away because you're like, oh, well, a couple months ago there was 2 of them, so it just doesn't. Yeah, it's definitely less important, I think now.
So moving on now to the next segment here, which is Josh Matthews doing a backstage segment where he's about to interview the NXT Season 3 participants, but before they can really say anything, they're immediately interrupted by the Nexus. And my first thought here was that the Nexus is kind of looking pretty pathetic at this point. They have just 5 members left after Darren Young was kicked out, Skip Sheffield got injured, and obviously Daniel Bryan only lasted 1 night before he was fired and then eventually rehired. What do you think of the makeup of the Nexus group here at the moment?
Do you want me to give my Nexus thoughts now or wait until the Barrett match?
It depends what your thoughts are.
I thought the Nexus was the shits.
You thought the Nexus were the shits?
Yeah, 100%.
Fuck off.
I know. I was saying that to you two. Probably a bad call, but
We've both got Nexus shirt.
We do.
At the time, I was just like, man, it just didn't make. I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of it.
That means they did their job. They were the heels.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't even that. I guess I don't know how smarky I was in 2010, but I just wasn't a fan of most of the guys. I thought Barrett was good. I kind of like Justin Gabriel, but the rest of them I just didn't really care about for some reason.
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough when you consider who's actually in the Nexus at this point. It's like you can understand about not really caring too much for them.
I mean, I guess it's kind of shown. Like Michael Tarver didn't really. I know a lot of them sort of stayed around, and Darren Young won a championship, and Heath Slater's still around, and Ryback. Yeah, I just for some reason at the time I just didn't really care, and I knew I sort of had it in my head that they weren't going to last long, and I sort of knew I assumed Cena was going to win, and they were just going to disband, but they lasted a little longer than I thought.
Well, after that little run-in with the Nexus there, we have Alberto Del Rio coming out to the ring. Here he cuts a promo talking about how this is his WWE pay-per-view debut, and then kind of just shitting on the crowd. Also, at this time, Del Rio has been in the company for a while, but he'd only been on the main roster and actually wrestling for about 2 months, and he'd been feuding with Rey Mysterio, and I'm kind of confused why. Like, why doesn't Del Rio have a match with Mysterio here?
I'm going to cut you there. Did you notice what they showed on Titantron, Brett?
Are you referring to the Chihuahua with the Rey Mysterio mask?
And Pricey, I'd like to enlighten you on something. Did you know there was an Alberto Del Rio figure that came with this?
With a Chihuahua?
It came with the Chihuahua mask dog.
You are my resident wrestling figure, guys. And
out of 10, how surprised are you that they actually made that into a thing?
Close to a 9.5, I would have thought.
For me,
shocking.
I'm less surprised by that than I am by the fact that there was a Chris Masters themed ring that you showed me yesterday.
They're called the Master Lock Challenge. Which
came with like a painting or something?
It came with the portrait that he had on his entrance. That's all it came with.
Absolute shit.
I'll have to show you a pricey when I see you next.
Matt Striker also had his own wrestling ring that came with a blackboard.
It did.
I thought it was gonna be like a commentary match.
It was called the Extreme Educator Classroom. It's just literally an ECW ring, comes with Matt Striker, and it has a blackboard.
That's kind of cool. I'd buy that.
Or the Johnny Nitro paparazzi ring.
Is there a red carpet maybe?
It's like a cutout stand with a red carpet and some shitty paparazzi on it.
Oh no.
Jax were really just putting anything out at that stage.
They were the Rey Mysterio I Quit match ring. Woo.
So here Del Rio, he insults Texas for a little bit, and then Edge's music hits. These two go back and forth in what's pretty much a dumb as dog shit promo that's, again, clearly stalling for time. Then Jack Swagger comes out, and that's before Del Rio and Edge can start throwing down. Swagger then complains that he isn't booked tonight and is angry that Edge speared the Swagger Soaring Eagle, who, by the way, was played by Chavo Guerrero, if you two didn't know.
I forgot about that.
Because I didn't know that, and I looked it up, and yep, played by Chavo Guerrero. A highlight for his career, I'm sure.
Oh, it's just like, was it his dad or Eddie's dad that was the gobbledygooker?
Was it Eddie's older brother, I think?
Something like that.
I've actually got it here. I was reading the TV tropes page for wrestling.
Would that be Chavo's dad?
That were ignored. And yeah, Eddie's older brother Hector was in the gobbledygooker suit. So they've
Just
got
following
history,
the family
Guerrero
lineage.
Family. Back to the promo here. Swagger then beats down Edge with a little bit of help from Del Rio, but he kind of just walks away awkwardly, which leads us to getting an email from the anonymous Raw general manager announcing an impromptu match, as well as them announcing that Edge is going to be forced to apologise for destroying the anonymous GM laptop on the episode of Raw coming up. Do you remember Edge and his feud with a computer?
I remember his breakdown when he just started beating up the laptop. I guess you would call that smashing the laptop.
You've got the crazy eyes.
I was about to ask you to do your anonymous Raw GM impression.
Jesus Christ, that's something special. I don't know whether I like the anonymous GM or not.
Oh, I absolutely hated it. It was the worst period. That combined with the guest hosts of Raw, absolute dog shit era of Raw.
Because I don't know, people kind of you got something out of it. Everyone billing Michael Cole and all that, but jeez, it was the shits, wasn't it? Really.
But guys, you know what's stupid? Jack Swagger is here.
Oh my god.
Hey, don't make fun of him.
I couldn't get over him doing that. I'm sorry, but
he's the all-American American.
Jack
Swagger.
Actually, I feel like Christian cut a promo on him where he insulted his lisp, so he's fair game.
Thuckering Thuckertash. Roman should have just said it like that.
Oh my god. He would be over right now if he had done that.
There's parts of you, not all of you, but there's parts of you that are extremely stupid. You came out Friday on SmackDown with a chihuahua dressed up as Rey Mysterio. No, that's stupid. That scarf, it looks like a blanket. That is stupid.
So Edge defeats Jack Swagger here via pinfall. This match goes for 11 minutes and 29 seconds, and Daddy Dave Meltzer gives it 2.5 stars, surprisingly.
Jesus.
What did you think of this little filler match?
I gave it a 2 out of 5. I thought it was just pretty standard, and I think it's something you'd probably see on Raw, like just an impromptu match like that. I don't know why they did it on a pay-per-view, but
These are my notes. I said the rated R superstar. I wrote Z.
Did you fall
It was
asleep
very
on
boring.
Your keyboard?
Fell asleep there. And I wrote, thank God that's over. And then I rated it doo-doo stars out of 5.
Where's doo-doo stars on the rating? Is that 0 stars or?
I'd say that's like Meltzer's dud rating. Like it doesn't even get a rating.
wow.
I can say that's fair enough. I just wanted to know, like you said, Pricey, this is basically a match you'd see on Raw, and this got on the card over an Intercontinental Championship match or any Tag Team Championship match. I'm just confused why they would do this. I guess Edge is a draw, and that pops the crowd, but surely you could have either of those like championship matches instead of whatever this was.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, you'd have to tune into Raw to watch Edge if he wasn't on this show.
Why didn't they have the Intercontinental title defended?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Or the tag titles, because they defended on the pre-show.
Really? Was that on the pre-show?
That's the dark match.
On the old Sunday Night Heat?
Yeah, well, I don't know why they didn't do it here. I don't know. Guess they just didn't like him. Kofi and Ziggler.
Yeah, I mean, Kofi Ziggler for like the 800,000th time would have probably been better than this.
Yeah, well, at least they have chemistry.
True. I thought this was a solid like time filler / pee break match. It is way too long and a little sloppy in some places, but I guess it's all right as something to just kind of break up the flow of the show. I'm just confused as to why it was only 2 minutes shorter than the US Championship match. Like, there's no reason why this needs to be 11.5 minutes long.
No, because of the eagle, man. You guys don't understand.
Wants redemption.
Yeah.
I did appreciate Jack Swagger's line about saying that the Swagger soaring eagle was in fact not a real eagle and was a person who had medical bills to pay.
I was shocked. I was shocked when I said that. I really thought it was a real eagle.
That man was the damn
dead.
world champion like a few months earlier. And now he's out here talking about how it's not a real eagle.
That was one of my notes. I said Swagger should have had a world title run.
I think Swagger should come back right now. Come back in the Royal Rumble with MVP, Carlito, Mr. Kennedy, and he should get
didn't Jack Swagger have a title run?
He had two, didn't he?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, when he cashed in the Money in the
Money in
Bank.
the Bank the night after Mania.
Oh, that's how memorable they were.
But did he have another title run, or am I just thinking about his
No, you'd be thinking
his push that got ended by him getting caught with drugs?
Yeah, he won like the title match. He had a world title match at Mania, but he lost, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Only one World Heavyweight Championship run. He also held the ECW title and the US title.
Yeah.
Which was I remember when he got that push leading into Mania, and then he fucked it up by getting caught with drugs like the week of.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty big fuck up. Like, was he supposed to win the title? I feel like he was.
I'm pretty sure, like, the way they were pushing him, I'm pretty sure that they were pushing him to be the guy at that point. But then he somehow messed it all up.
I can't believe he had a world title match at WrestleMania.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable. Kids, don't give up on your dreams.
fight for your dreams and they will fight for you.
Wow, that's really inspirational. Is this another Simon Dean Simon System?
That was you don't watch SmackDown? Clearly obvious. That's the Daniel Bryan quote.
Is it really? When did he say that?
I don't know, Pricey. Help me out. Surely you've heard it.
Yeah, that's when he came back from. That was like before Mania.
Yeah.
Surely you were watching that.
I only know that any man with two hands stands a fighting chance. That's the only quote I know.
It's the only one you need to know.
So after this barn burner of a match, we get a backstage segment with the Nexus, and here they're discussing strategy of how they're going to be able to help Wade Barrett without getting disqualified, because in the not the main event, but the match coming up, the Nexus can't get involved physically, or Wade Barrett. Is the stipulation what's the stipulation there? Like,
what do you mean?
They can't get involved.
They can't get involved, but it's a singles match, is it not? Like, they can't get involved anyway.
Yeah, but saying, like, say if there was a ref knockdown or something.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, that makes sense. It just clicked.
Because the GM can just email anytime.
Yeah, Hornswoggle can just get out his MacBook underneath the ring and fire
that
off a
little
email.
bastard.
Fire off a little texty text.
I'm writing to Wade Barrett with a little texty text. You and the Nexus must disband. Full stop.
Oh, come on now! What the? Well, folks, unfortunately, stuff like this happens. What the hell just happened? What's it? No! No! Ref, no! Not like this! No way! No way!
So we roll straight into the match, which is Wade Barrett defeating John Cena via pinfall in 17 minutes and 45 seconds. Meltzer gives it 3.5 stars. And here the stipulation is that if Wade Barrett wins, John Cena has to join the Nexus. But if Cena wins, Nexus has to disband. I just want to point out here that the Nexus theme in 2018 is still a banger.
I wrote that down too.
This is literally my note compared to yours. Yours says Nexus theme still a banger. Mine says Nexus theme is a banger. I was one word off saying what you said, so I think we're all in agreement.
And mine said Nexus song good.
Hey, straight to the point.
It's because I had the proper band for it. What is it, 12 Stones or whatever?
12 Stones. Is that actually a thing?
I think that's the band name, 12 Stones.
The Rolling Stones.
We are one.
But yeah, like
Rolling Stones.
As far as themes go, that is an all-timer.
Oh, I'll sing along. I'll sing along when Wade Barrett came out.
Is this a good chance to shout out to Stu Bennett?
Shout out to
famous
actor Stu Bennett.
And we should check out his movie coming out called I Am Vengeance, which is coming out in a week.
Is that a movie about the Vengeance pay-per-view?
No, but it is an action movie, and it's the first time Wade Barrett is a good guy in his whole acting career and wrestling career.
Are we getting paid for that shout out?
No, I just heard it on Sam Roberts, and I thought it'd be good for people to check him out.
He must be telling the same stories on every podcast he goes on, because he was on Talk is Jericho like 6 months ago, and he said the exact same thing word for word.
Well, there's a week till the movie comes out, so check him out.
Check your local listings at the old box office.
I think it is actually going to the box office. I'm not sure.
There is zero chance that movie is coming out in this country.
Definitely not. No.
So for this match, I was surprised that it didn't main event. In this era, Cena matches usually just main evented everything, and this match is actually like pretty important, like storyline wise. So were you like surprised to see that this was kind of on the undercard?
Now I am. After watching the main event, I definitely think this should have went on last.
Yeah, I love this feud so much, but I wish this was in the cell though.
Yeah,
wouldn't that make sense? They're trying to keep so Nexus out.
They're like they don't want the Nexus to interfere, and instead of having the dumb like stipulation that they enforced here, like you're literally at Hell in a Cell, and you don't. They literally could have done the same. Get involved. Put them in the cell.
They could have done the same finish. They could have done the old, Nexus have raised the cage, and then just do the McGillicuddy thing. Do that all while the cage is up.
But like now that you've mentioned that, I'm actually kind of mad that they put Sheamus and Randy Orton in the Hell in a Cell, but we get this match, which clearly is like designed to be in the Hell in a Cell, and it's just random singles match, one fall to a finish.
Well, there's been pay-per-views before where they've had 3 cell matches, so they could have done all 3. It doesn't make any sense with that.
I thought if any match needed one, this would be the one. Like, definitely. Yeah, I'm going to throw... Oh, you go.
I was going to say, out of all the matches on the card, this definitely needs it. And I'm going to say, out of, like, all of the feuds that they've had going into Hell in a Cell, like, all of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-views, this would have to be, like, right up there as feuds that could actually justify having it.
Yeah.
Like, this deserves it more than fucking Sasha Banks and Charlotte.
Ooh.
But history... First time ever.
Fucking Sasha Banks stretch a shot.
And then they don't even do one this year.
Throw that in the trash.
Wow. Well fair.
I'm just going to say here, did you guys catch the Nexus Union in 2018?
I did. When they had an indie show or something?
The indie show? Chikara.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wasn't it like...
Chikara 2018 King of Trios tournament. They were called the Nexus Alliance. They were represented by Fred Rosser, PJ Black, and Michael Tarver. That's Darren Young, Justin Gabriel, and Michael Tarver.
Wow.
My boy,
I actually really want to see that. I might actually search that out afterwards.
That's a reunion that we can all just be proud of, I think.
I'll have to check that out after we're done.
So you guys both love the Nexus, is that right?
I was a big Nexus mark.
Pricey, I bought a Nexus shirt last year.
What didn't I get? Why did I not like the Nexus compared to you guys? I don't understand.
I just liked the way that they came in.
I like the chaos.
Like, yeah, it was just like shock. Because like I don't think there hadn't been like any rumors leading up to it. Because I used to be heavy into the dirt sheets at this stage, and I don't remember there being like any reporting at all about like, oh, the WWE are planning on debuting like all of the new NXT people. Like I hadn't heard really any rumors at all. So when that happened, I was like, what? Like the whole like all the people online were like shocked. It was like a pretty cool time to be like following the product.
I relate to this because we weren't really watching wrestling when NWO was around. So this is like my NWO because I've always been jealous. I've always wanted an NWO. This will be the closest thing we'll get to an NWO.
Oh well, my NWO is happening right now with the Undisputed Era.
Oh, they're in that little indie show.
Oh wow, sir!
Running those bingo halls and those armories.
Yeah, and those colleges.
I'm just saying, Colorado would beat the shit out of Michael Tarver any day. Any day.
I don't know about that. Michael Tarver's a bad man. He used to appear in the background of Raw on the phone randomly. He's a bad man.
I don't know what it was. I don't know why I didn't like Nexus, but I mean, a lot of people did, so maybe I'm just weird.
I don't know. I I was all in on them. I think like the armbands and the shirt I was like really into.
It was just different.
I was digging that, but I mean, I don't think it really got good until CM Punk took over, in my opinion.
I have the CM Punk Nexus shirt. I still wear it now. Like I bought it. It's probably like 2012. It would be 2012. It's 2018. I still have it. Still in good condition. One of the greatest shirts that WWE have put out.
Do you know recently Michael Tarver and Mason Ryan tag teamed?
Well, Batista Jr.
Now we're talking. Mason Ryan. That's a big hoss.
That's a name you can set your watch to.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I.
Good point. I like that.
Alright, so getting to the actual match at hand here. Mid-match, the Nexus come out and Barrett kind of yells at them to stay back because they're in danger of kind of screwing him over here. Then a little bit later, the entire WWE locker room runs out to beat down the Nexus, which was that was a little bit random. And then,
did you guys notice the Big Show nearly tripped over?
No, I didn't notice that.
You've got to go back and watch it.
The most generic gear. He nearly tripped over. It was literally just black.
And you might not have noticed either, but there was a cheeky little Chris Masters cameo.
There was also MVP doing this run-in in street gear. Everyone else had their wrestling gear on.
Ah, God.
He wasn't prepared.
Do you reckon MVP was in catering and Vince was like, fucking get out there. I need you to do a big boot to one of these guys over the railing. Do it now.
Chris Masters, why'd you even bring your gear?
I always question that, like, do you reckon it's kind of depressing for, like, Evan Bourne to put on his gear? He's not booked, and you're not going to be doing anything, but he's still wearing his gear.
And it takes, like, 5 hours for Mark Henry to get dressed.
Is that a fact, or have you just made that up?
Made it up. I love Mark Henry, sorry.
He needs to
sorry, buddy, if you ever listen to this.
Gear. But as we alluded to, the end of the match happens when Michael McGillicuddy makes a run-in as a fan, but is stopped by security and the ref. And while the ref's back is turned, Cena stops applying the STF to Wade Barrett, and then Husky Harris runs in from the other side of the arena, hits Cena, and then Barrett is able to get the pin. When Husky Harris hits Cena, does he have anything in his hands or anything, or
yeah,
is this just a double axe handle?
I thought he had something.
It's a pipe, steel pipe.
Does he have a steel pipe? Like, it's so quick that I don't catch it. I'm like, did he just double axe handle him for the finish?
He's a quick man, Husky Harris.
I wonder what happened to him.
I like this finish, but I also am like, I don't understand why they can't identify who they are. Like, it's 2011 or 2010 at this point, sorry. Like, you have enough cameras on the product to be like, oh, yep, that's Michael McGillicuddy and that's Husky Harris.
I'm going to be honest, from the first camera angle, like, where they just sort of showed him, I was like, oh, that looks like Curtis Axel. And then the run-in, I was like, oh, it's probably Bray Wyatt then. Just like that, and like they couldn't do it after the match with like all those cameras, like you said.
It's especially bad because like King goes, it's either King or Striker, like in the aftermath of it, they go like, oh, I saw McGillicuddy like going over the barricade, like out of the corner of my eye. And it's like, so you're saying he was just feet away from you and you couldn't tell that he's that guy that works at the company? Like, are they implying that nobody watches NXT or what?
100% King's not watching NXT. 100%.
But like Matt Striker was like the NXT guy. Surely he knows. Like Husky Harris is a big fat dude. It's classic WWE. So what did you think of the actual match itself? The quality here.
Pretty solid. Just another solid match. The crowd got into it towards the end. They were pretty into the fact that Cena lost. I thought like the crowd reactions and stuff after he lost, they couldn't believe that Cena was joining the Nexus.
I was actually surprised here that there weren't like boos and stuff for Cena.
Yeah, everyone was pretty into him at this point.
Yeah, it was weird because like in like I guess like 2007-ish, people started like booing him hardcore. But then here they're kind of like fine on him, and now he gets booed again. I wonder why they kind of stopped for a little bit.
Maybe people were like genuinely hot at the Nexus. Maybe the angle was that good at the time.
Like, how dare you attack Justin Roberts? He's just a ring announcer.
Well, I was a little biased because I love the Nexus, so I gave it a 4 stars.
Ooh.
I love this match. Very biased because I love the Nexus. I love Wade Barrett. I think him in this role as like the leader, like 10 out of 10. Good bloke. But when this match finished, I was shocked. 10 out of 10. Like
10 out of 10.
Like I was so shocked. I was like, no way, John Cena's just joined the Nexus.
Like,
Can't happen. John Cena wouldn't do that. Never give up.
Just wouldn't it be easier just the Nexus disbanded since they already beat him at SummerSlam?
What was more shocking, Taker's streak ending or this?
This.
Nice.
Yeah, what streak? What's that even mean?
Personally, I thought this match was probably another 3-star. I didn't think it was incredible, but it was decent. I think the in-ring quality it's good, but I think what really like pushes it like into being like a really solid match is the more of the story stuff. I feel like the ending is actually like the finish is actually executed pretty well, even though it's kind of silly that like they don't know who Husky Harris and Michael McGillicuddy are. But I still think I liked the setup there.
No, I agree.
I'm guessing, I don't really recall, but I guess they joined the Nexus after that. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the very next night on Raw they introduce McGillicuddy and Husky Harris.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then eventually the CM Punk era with Mason Ryan.
Oh,
The GOAT era.
Some real dog shit days those were. So I just wanted to ask you boys, now that we've had the Nexus's appearance happen here, do you think Wade Barrett is one of the biggest missed opportunities in WWE history?
Well, they definitely missed the boat. I think he definitely had the potential to be a world champion, and they probably should have pulled the trigger now. I think that would have made more sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't. I don't know what the reasons were behind it, but I think they definitely should have put the strap on him at some point.
I reckon they should have had somehow had like at SummerSlam, Wade Barrett just wins the title first night, like his first match. Like that's shocking. Like Nexus does some crazy shit. Wade Barrett wins the title like in a heel way. Like I thought he should have had the title.
I'm shocked that he never held the belt.
Because he was just very believable as a heel, and I don't know. They didn't give him enough.
I also thought like he had a few like years where not much was going on, but then he had the Bad News Barrett gimmick, and that got over pretty well. Like he started rising again, but then it kind of just fizzled out. They
stopped doing it.
They stopped doing it, and then they kind of just started feeding him to other people. Like, even though he was Intercontinental Champion, he was always champion just seemingly to get the belt to somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know, I really liked him.
Then they had the King Barrett gimmick, and he even did his best with that.
The King of the Ring gimmick, I don't know if there's a hot take, but it's one of the worst things
it's hard to pull off.
You can be saddled with in wrestling history, I reckon.
King Booker's definitely the best one.
King Booker's the only person I think that's succeeded with it.
He had to go full all out as well to get that.
Yeah, he went balls to the wall with it, putting on an accent and shit. He even got a court.
Respect.
The Cosmic King.
The Cosmic King.
versus Neville and Stephen Amell.
What a match. I also at this point wanted to ask you, so a couple months before they'd had the 7-on-7 SummerSlam match, Team WWE vs Team Nexus. I just wonder, what was the point of that match? Nexus lose that match, and everybody talks about how Cena beating them buried them, but there's no consequence here. Team WWE win, but they don't really there's no setback.
I think that just shows why it was stupid that Team WWE won. There was no consequences. There would be consequences if the Nexus won.
Exactly, it would be there would be consequences just from the fact that Nexus had defeated the best that the WWE have to offer.
Yeah, Bret Hart
winning without a stipulation in the match, a Nexus disbands or some sort of punishment. It's it's so pointless.
They were booked pretty shit, the Nexus. They were booked great in the beginning, and then it just went to shit after that, really.
So after the Nexus get the win, we cut backstage to Josh Matthews, who's kind of just wandering backstage through a corridor that's lit in the Undertaker's purple gimmicks. I don't know really why he's wandering through there, but then Paul Bearer just shows up in the background looking like a disturbing pervert. And then Josh Matthews interviews him, and Paul Bearer says he's been biding his time and planning to make his presence felt.
Oh, save me, Undertaker! For 6 years I was buried in concrete.
I don't know about you boys, but I've always been disturbed by Paul Bearer.
Oh, I have that in my notes as well.
He's a disgusting creep pervert.
Oh my god.
Nah, he lost his stigma after when he's with Kane. Do you remember when he was with Kane, he dyed his hair red?
No.
As soon as he stopped doing the white face paint, I think he wasn't that cool after that.
He did not. You're saying he had red hair?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
Do you remember? It was when Kane was a face, kind of, when he came back.
I was thinking red like Kane, but I know.
No. Yeah.
I was I don't remember that.
Okay.
Honestly, who throws a shoe? Layla. And Layla's going to pay, I think. Obviously, it's going to be a disqualification as Natalya. Title will not change hands on the disqualification. And Michelle trying to make it out of harm's way.
Get her out of
Layla
there.
with the shoe again.
She's a real heel. Get it with the shoes.
So after that match, we actually cut to Natalya defeating the Undertaker's wife, Michelle McCool, via disqualification in a unified Divas/Women's Championship match. I'm not even sure what they were calling the belt at this time. This match goes for a shockingly quick 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and Dave Meltzer gives it 1.5 stars. I just wrote in my notes here, #give Divas a chance.
It's very short, and but it was pretty cool that they had the double championships.
Yeah.
I did like that about Lay Cool's gimmick.
Yeah.
But I forgot they had double Divas championship. I only remember when they had the split women's championship. That was funny.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Lay Cool. I thought they were one of the more memorable women's acts through the
They had Caval.
They did, yeah. They were Caval's pros. Wow.
Look how well he turned out.
Oh man, Caval was a dipshit. Since you've brought out discussing Lay Cool, do you remember how their entire gimmick was just like based around them being bullies?
Yeah.
Shout out to
and
I've got here. Shout out to Fatty Natty, Smelly Kelly, and Piggy James.
and before this match, didn't they have like an ad for like Make a Wish?
They did,
And-
yeah. There
and
a
Layla
Make-A-Wish
was in
ad
it.
somewhere around here.
Layla was in that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do all their BSR stuff, and then they just come out with Piggy James.
In your notes, Brandon, I see you've got the quote that Matt Striker says at the end of the match. Do you want to get? Actually, you go. You talk about the end of the match.
Wait, which quote is this? Okay. So this
up,
match ends with Michelle McCool getting disqualified, and this happens when Layla throws her heels at Natalya, and I had here who booked this shit because it's garbage, but I wrote that before I heard the absolute gem commentary line of the night, and that's Matt Striker saying she's a real heel during these antics, which made it all worth it for me, I'd say.
But I feel like you missed the Austin Powers quote reference that Matt Striker used before that.
I didn't realize there was a reference.
Oh, there was. He said, "Who throws a shoe?" Honestly, which is Austin Powers quote. I don't know. If you know.
I didn't even hear him say that. I wish I had it. That's quality.
Yeah. I honestly thought, wow, Matt Striker is like the best commentator of this pay-per-view. He killed it. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, honestly, Matt Striker, underrated.
Well, I gave this. I said it's a finish out of 10. I said it was WCW-esque.
It wasn't great. Like, Layla throws those shoes like so lightly.
Yeah, they barely even get there.
Like, what kind of disqualification is that?
Yeah, it's interesting. She could have got into the ring and like actually hit her, but
The match was pretty sloppy, but these two can actually, like, you can see they can actually, like,
Yeah,
I don't know if it was that they had to fit everything into 4 minutes.
I had the same thing that it was like pretty sloppy, but yeah, Natalya and Michelle McCool, especially for this era of the women's division, they're probably two of the better performers. So
Do we have a star rating for that?
Personally, I would give that 1 at most.
I
think 1.5 was generous from Meltzer.
I'm not going to give it a star rating. I don't think it was long enough.
You don't reckon 4 minutes and 50 wasn't long enough?
Nah, I mean, I'd probably just stick with what Meltzer had.
Jeez, you're real generous with the ratings.
Generous? I mean, if it was longer, I'd give it a proper rating, but I can't really rate it.
That's fair enough. What about you, Pricey?
yeah, I had 1.5 before looking at Meltzer's rating, so I'm basically Dave Meltzer. I would have thought.
Well, before we transition into our main event, I just wanted to know, what's your favourite Michelle McCool match?
What happened there? Sorry.
You right?
Yeah, your audio cut out, man.
Oh, did I cut it out? I just wanted to know, what's your favourite Michelle McCool match?
Jeez.
Maybe we were left speechless.
I was going to say, you were left speechless, too many to choose from.
I'm going to say the KC James and Kip Stevens managing matches.
I'll just say this one because I don't recall watching any other.
I'm going to say the tag team tables match that she had with Natalya and whoever the fuck was her partner that night, where the table didn't break.
It was
so they had to do it again.
Yeah. Well, that's a good shout. That's a good call.
Michelle McCool and Matt Striker should have been a tag team.
Oh,
Good call.
teachers.
Good call.
Yeah.
I also think Kevin Thorn should have been a tag team with just someone. He should have been a tag team with someone.
Mordecai.
Gangrel.
Wait, so you guys are saying that Kevin Thorn wouldn't just slot right in the main event as a threat match?
Oh, could you imagine?
Main event in any arena.
Like Paul Bearer sides with Kevin Thorne. Oh my god. That's got money written all over it.
Did you boys know that I did some reading during the week about Kevin Thorn, and that when they were building up for ECW to return, they were putting together Kevin Thorn, putting him together with Ariel. Do you know Gangrel was like supposed to be in Kevin Thorn's place?
No.
He was either supposed to be in his place or he was supposed to be part of a stable, but then I think he either failed a drug test or pissed someone off or something, so they got rid of him.
If he had Gangrel, he probably would have been a lot bigger, though.
I reckon you put Gangrel into that pairing, Kevin Thorne's probably Hall of Fame right now.
I mean, at the least, they could have been a tag team on the main roster.
So what you're saying is Gangrel fucked over Kevin Thorn?
We have to blame someone.
I think WWE picked up Kevin Thorn. Push him.
Push him to the moon.
He's still young enough. Get him back in the company now.
So we've arrived at our main event here, which is Kane defeating The Undertaker via pinfall in a Hell in a Cell match for the World Heavyweight Championship.
There's a light that came out of the air. Yeah, a light of the Undertaker. A bright light. I think the Undertaker blinded.
This goes 21 minutes and 37 seconds and is given half a star by Dave Meltzer. What did we think of this bizarre match?
I have a lot of notes, so Price, you take it away.
1 star. That's about it. I want to hear Nat's. No, I don't. I didn't have any. Oh,
well,
actually,
I gave it. Oh, you go.
Just the little thing that Matt Striker said. I don't know if you have it in here, Brandon. I didn't really look. Paul Bearer had an affair with a woman in the bowels of the funeral home in Michigan. Spawn of that unforgiving affair was the Demon Kane. I had no idea that is a thing. I don't know.
And then they didn't say anything after that.
Yeah. So I don't have any recollection of that happening, but apparently is that the storyline? Is that what they're going with? Or?
That is part of the storyline. The Kane and Undertaker storyline is so convoluted beyond belief.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on.
They contradict things so often that none of it makes any sense.
That's pretty much all I had, Nat. So you go for gold.
Well, I've got down here. Kane needs to get over that fight that he got burned in. He needs to get over it.
I was
I also wrote vegetative state Undertaker.
That's my favorite version of the Undertaker.
This match was just dead from the crowd, very dead.
Yeah, they didn't really care for it.
Probably not a big hot take, but hot take. There is no such thing as a good Undertaker and Kane match. They have no chemistry together.
I had a note here. I was going to ask you boys. Why did you think Kane and Taker never really had much chemistry? Because I did a bit of research, and their highest rated match ever, there was at least a dozen one-on-one matches that they've had together. And the highest rated match for them by Dave Meltzer was 2 3/4 stars for their Inferno match, which is...
Jesus.
Was that... That's their
98.
first match?
That's 98, and it's not even a proper match.
I think that's their second match that they've ever had. And
yeah.
They had so many more after it. And I don't think Kane or Undertaker were probably at their peak in 98. Maybe Taker. But yeah, they just never had any chemistry. Do you boys have any possible explanation for this?
Just two big hosses.
Yeah, I don't, but the first WrestleMania I watched was 20. So, I mean, I kind of have fond memories of just watching that and seeing Taker as, the old school Undertaker coming back. That's, the only memory. I guess looking back, that match wasn't very good either. So,
it's not.
I'm not too sure.
I don't know if you guys watched it, but there was a horrible knee drop bit kick by Kane. Did you see that?
I do know exactly the spot you were talking about.
And it was god-awful. I also wrote... This was before the finish. First time I watched it, I wrote... Guys, if Paul Barrett got out of that concrete, surely he could just teleport into the cell.
Yeah, he seems to have lost some of his powers here.
And then I said, I can't wait to see these two fight at bragging rights in a Buried Alive match.
Oh, shit. That might be next week's show, is it, that we're doing?
And then
it could if someone wants to chuck it in the old pole gimmick.
We'll have a look. I'll save my finish notes for after you tell us what happened.
Well, yeah, I'll roll into it here. So basically, Kane punches the referee here after Taker kicks out of his tombstone piledriver, which results in the officials opening the cell and removing the referee with some medical officials and stuff. This allows Paul Bearer to just walk into the cell. Then Kane kind of awkwardly chases him around the cell, but he's just walking and he's easily able to catch Bearer. So he kind of just forces him into the ring. And while Bearer is standing in the corner, just scared of Kane, Undertaker chokeslams Kane and does his rest in peace taunt. Then his the lighting that's used in his entrance comes on and lightning sound effects play, which I thought that was out of nowhere and really random.
Yeah, I said it was so fucking hokey.
But it's all there just as a setup for Paul Bearer taking the lid off the urn and shining the light in Undertaker's eyes, which stops him momentarily. He then gives the urn to Kane, who hits Taker in the head with it, chokeslam him, and gets the pin. I thought, this is a fucking awful finish, and surely this couldn't have sounded good when they were planning it. Undertaker loses because a flashlight was shined in his eyes. What the fuck was that?
Where do I start? Did you notice they had every ref come out?
There were so many.
I wrote that. I wrote, why so many refs? And it was just everything about that finish is lame. That's some early 90s shit. That's new generation stuff. Also, did you notice at the end of the pay-per-view, Kane and Paul Bearer on the top of the ramp, Kane looks straight into the light.
He shines it into his face.
Yeah, Paul Bearer shines it.
He opens it and he shines it on him, and he seemed a bit fine.
I don't know. Maybe the ashes have a bad effect on the Taker or something. I don't know.
But seriously, what was worse? 2018 Hell in a Cell ending. And Brandon can't answer that.
I can't answer. I haven't seen it.
This is by far much worse than 2018.
Yeah, this is horrible. This is dog shit.
I just don't like that this ending disrespects the history of the urn, because when the urn was opened, in his match against, I think it was Yokozuna, there was green smoke came out of it. Green smoke's supposed to come out of it, not flashlight.
And at one stage, it had the ashes in there. And
I remember. Hogan pulls out the ashes at one point.
What did we give this for a star rating?
0 or half star, like Meltzer, I guess, if I'm being generous.
Yeah, I had the same.
Yeah, I get a half star too. It's good. We can all agree.
Well done, gents.
Yeah, it's just I had my notes here. This match should have taken at least 10 years prior to this event. At least, how did a Hell in a Cell match between these two not happen in the 90s?
How did a Hell in a Cell match, that is where their feud started, not be better?
I can't believe how bad it is. I had here, the match is slow, plodding, and boring, and that the pacing is even worse than the first Cell match on this card. And I thought the decision in this match for Kane to work on Taker's knee and kind of wear him down is so bizarre, because it just makes the match even more slow.
Yeah.
Maybe if Rey Mysterio is working with Taker, you kind of do the whole work the knee spot, but not Kane.
It should have just been a brawl, like a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, just go all out, smashing each other into the sides of the cage, stuff like that. Kind of did it a bit towards the end, but I don't know.
Do you think if this was SmackDown vs. Raw, Here Comes the Pain, that Kane would have done the flying clothesline off the top of the cell to the Undertaker?
Definitely.
That should have been the finish.
If that had that in it, I'd give it 5 stars.
And then someone gets chokeslammed through the cell, and then they go for a pin and they kick out at 1.
Yes. Need more of that.
Now, I don't really remember. I don't think I was really paying attention to wrestling around this time, but after this, how long does Paul Bearer stick around with Kane?
For a little while. Doesn't he stick around until because Kane feuds with Edge? And then
Yeah, it's until that feud.
Edge does some stuff with Paul Bearer, and that kind of writes Paul Bearer off TV. So that's
Kind of. Edge locks him in a freezer or something.
Really?
yeah.
Or Kane locks him in the freezer or something.
No, yeah, Kane does it, doesn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
It was like, I'm sick of Paul Bearer. I'm going to murder him now. And then he died for real.
Oh, R.I.P. man.
You know what? You know what would have been a better ending to this match?
Oh god.
Instead of having whatever dumb bullshit happened, we have live on pay-per-view the resurrection of Andrew Test Martin.
Exactly.
We have to get him in there somewhere.
Was he dead at this stage?
He was dead as dog shit, man.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus.
Andrew Test Martin. When did he die? He died in 2009 of a drug overdose, so...
Oh, he almost made it to this pay-per-view.
Oh, testicles. Currently, I have the birthday for our Twitter account set to the day Chris Benoit was born. Maybe I should change it to the day Tess was born.
I don't know if anyone would have picked up on that beforehand.
No, and absolutely no one's picked up on that.
Well, I was a testicle back in the day, so...
I'm still a testicle. So do we have any more thoughts on the main event match here?
Oh,
I want to forget about it as quickly as possible.
I don't blame either of yous.
Agreed.
So let's move into something more positive. What did we think was the match of the night?
The triple threat, or maybe Cena and Barrett.
What about you,
I'm gonna go Cena Barrett too, obviously, because I'm a Nexus monk.
Yeah,
How about you?
I'm going to say the opener was probably my favourite match, probably the match I enjoyed most. But that would be definitely followed by the Cena-Barrett match. Outside of that, yeah, I didn't like the main event Hell in a Cell match. The first Hell in a Cell match was real average, and then like the women's match is so short, and Jack Swagger versus Edge doesn't even have Swagger soaring eagle, so that's not a contender.
Exactly.
So I guess a little harder to decide is what's the worst match of the night here?
I hadn't actually thought about that.
It's pretty tricky here because Meltzer rates them pretty highly, but I didn't like most of these matches.
I'm just going to say the main event, just because it is the main event.
Yeah, you expect more.
Maybe if it was just not for the title, I'd probably say the Edge. But because it's main event, I'll say worst match of the night is main event.
Yeah, I think...
if you go by expectations and like what the main event should be compared to what an impromptu match between Edge and Swagger should be, the main event, yeah, it was much worse.
Yeah,
than what it
exactly right.
Yeah, I think as well, we unanimously agree that the main event's the worst, just purely because it goes on last. Like if they did have Cena Barrett be the final match of the night, I think I'd probably think more highly of the Hell in a Cell match. But because it's the last thing on, it gets like 22 minutes or whatever to be on display, and it's the thing that you send your fans home with. It's just definitely not good enough. Especially from like Taker can still go in this era. Same with Kane, and they just shit out that turd.
Just dog shit.
So any last thoughts on the Hell in a Cell 2010 pay-per-view?
Aren't you glad I picked this? I picked a really good one, didn't I?
I'm still mad that Super Brawl didn't get picked, or the episode 265 of Raw. I reckon that would have been a banger of an episode.
I guess we'll never know. It's impossible for us to go back and watch it.
It'll never come back on the poll.
Yeah.
I just want things to be picked that were from the 90s or 80s, because there's this dude on Reddit that just like posts like old Wrestling Observer newsletters from like, he's like working his way up from like the 80s and 90s, and he posts like all the rumors and stuff, so it gives me good stuff to flesh out the like the background. When you try and find info about 2010 Hell in a Cell, there is fuck all.
No, we can't do everything just for you, man. We do it for the people.
Well, you know what? Nobody votes for my options in the poll. It's bullshit.
Alright, so Nat will pick some old shit for the fans.
Just pick like Bunkhouse Stampede or something.
Just trying to think of a topic.
Well, while you think of that, let's roll into the aftermath of Hell in a Cell 2010. Here we see Paul Bearer issuing a challenge to The Undertaker to fight Kane in a Buried Alive match shortly after the events of Hell in a Cell. Undertaker accepts and would taunt Kane with his pyrotechnics, as well as drag him under the ring at some stage, which Kane would actually do to people a lot later on, as that spot's so overused. At bragging rights, Kane defeats Undertaker with help from the Nexus in order to close out the feud. Why the Nexus buried Undertaker is never explained, and David Otunga says to Cena on Raw the next night that it was for the greater good, but that's literally the extent of them explaining it. Allegedly, Wade Barrett was supposed to face Undertaker at WrestleMania 27, but those plans were shelved when Triple H returned, and it's kind of hard to find concrete proof that this was ever planned. But allegedly, Triple H, when he returned, he claimed that there was nobody on the roster that had enough star power to face Undertaker, so he just took it upon himself. Would you boys have liked to see a Wade Barrett Undertaker match at this point in time?
I'm down for it.
We could have helped him get over.
It's kind of just like...
That's a big match to be in.
It's like the natural progression. Like, you had them bury The Undertaker. Surely the next logical step is take us off TV for a bit, and then when it comes WrestleMania season, he shows up to face the Nexus again.
Yeah, logically it makes sense, but this is, it's the WWE, so logic doesn't really apply a lot, I guess.
It was, who did Nexus take on at WrestleMania 27? I remember they did the job.
Wait, is 27 2011?
Yes, correct.
Well, they were the core.
Yeah, it's the core versus...
Oh, well, they're the core already.
Wasn't it the core versus...
Big Show, Kane, and Santino Marella.
Yep.
The Nexus are not even on the show here.
Is Punk the leader at this point?
I think
yes. So. Yes, because they didn't break up till the summer.
I think I vaguely remember CM Punk wearing the armband on the show. But yeah, like they don't really get much of a shine here at WrestleMania. So as the Nexus storyline progresses here in the wake of Hell in a Cell 2010, the newest member of Nexus, John Cena, attempts to destroy the group from inside until the Raw general manager tells Cena to follow Wade Barrett's orders or lose his job. In a battle royal to determine the number one contender for the WWE Championship, Wade Barrett and Cena make it to the final two, which results in Barrett forcing Cena to eliminate himself, giving Barrett the number one contendership. To further guarantee his success, Barrett makes Cena stand in his corner at bragging rights, and in this match against Randy Orton, he will fire Cena if Barrett doesn't get the win. But in this match, Cena exploits a loophole by attacking Wade Barrett so that Barrett wins by disqualification, which prevents Barrett from winning the championship. Also at bragging rights, Cena wins the tag team championships with David Otunga, who will drop the title one night later on the orders of Barrett. Were you boys disappointed that Cena had to pass off the tag titles?
They could have been a new big tag team.
I was disappointed. I was always excited, when a big main event superstar would win the belts. Like when Cena and HBK won it, or when Batista was tag champ. That was I mark out for that.
I mean, back in the day, it makes sense. It would have been cool, but when now that's happening nowadays, I'm not a fan.
I don't know. I really like the Cena HBK pairing, and I was let down when they didn't bring out those belts for Mania.
Yeah, it was about the big one, Mania.
I think that's really when the tag titles, they lost all their prestige.
No, that was when the B team won them.
I'd just like to say B team, go go go.
In my head.
I hate Pricey for telling me. I hadn't heard.
What was that? Now you cut it out.
I didn't know about the B Team song until Pricey told me about it, so I hate him.
Jeez, it's so bad.
If the rest of us have to live in a world where we've heard that song, you have to as well.
I think we could dedicate a whole podcast to how bad that theme is.
It's the shit. It's so bad.
So something else that was the shits is the Bragging Rights pay-per-view that was next up, held on October 24, just 3 weeks after Hell in a Cell. The card for that night featured Daniel Bryan defeating Dolph Ziggler by submission, which was 3.5 stars from Melter. David Otunga and John Cena defeating Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre for the Unified Tag Team titles, which was 1.5 stars from Melter. Ted DiBiase Jr. defeated Goldust, which was 2 stars. Layla defeating Natalya for the Divas Championship, which got a 1/4 star. Kane defeating The Undertaker in a Buried Alive World Heavyweight Championship match, which got 1 star. And then Team SmackDown defeated Team Raw in the 14-person elimination tag match, which was 2.25 stars. And then finally, Wade Barrett defeating Randy Orton by disqualification, which got 1.75 stars. I just wanted to ask, in summary here, what are your thoughts overall on the Nexus storyline? I know we touched on it a little bit, but...
Overall, it's a waste.
Would you say it's a wasteland?
Obviously, you guys were into it, and a lot of people were. They definitely should have been bigger than what they were. The initial run when it first started was really good, and they obviously dropped the ball pretty heavily from SummerSlam onwards, I think. But
well, I'm going to say the undercard of the next sucked, but I didn't mind the Wade Barrett stuff.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. That's probably why I didn't like him. It's just the rest of the guys. I was a fan of Wade Barrett.
Yeah, when you look at the Nexus, actually, like, as individual members, it's kind of, like, pretty awful. Like, Michael Tarver was god-awful, never did anything, and then he got injured. Skip Sheffield got injured before he could really do anything. Brian got fired. Darren Young, average at best. Otunga was dog shit. Really, like, Barrett was the only person in Nexus really worth anything. I guess Husky Harris and McGillicuddy kind of went on to do stuff as well, but they're kind of not original members.
I mean, Heath Slater won the tag titles with Rhino as well.
I can't believe I forgot Heath Slater. Heath Slater's probably, like, the 3rd most successful Nexus member.
Yeah, he definitely is.
That's I don't know. It was a good. I think it was a good kind of setup to push Wade Barrett as a star, and they kind of just dropped the ball with it. Like, it felt like they never really knew where they were going with the whole storyline.
Yeah, it's kind of like they struck something that, like, really won over the crowd, and then they just didn't know where to go from there. I don't think they were prepared for it to be as big as it was.
Yeah, like, it's pretty clear, like, only like a month or two in, that, like, they don't know where this storyline is going, and, like, Wade Barrett gets at least 3, maybe 4 shots at the world title, and they never give it to him. Like, that seems like the natural progression of the story, but instead they keep it on, like, Randy Orton for no reason.
No, you're right. Definitely.
Sorry, I was just putting me pick.
It better be good. Also thought the Nexus storyline was, like, a pretty solid way to kind of promote NXT and, like, kind of give it some legitimacy. Having, like, the first season's rookies come in and make a big impact this way, it kind of shows that, like, this is something you should probably tune into, because at the very least, whoever wins this might go on to do pretty big things pretty soon in the WWE.
Yeah, it's true.
That's probably the aim, I guess, of why they did it. I don't think the aim was to have this really hot heel faction. I don't think they really thought it was going to be like that.
And then Caval basically shat all over NXT. Yeah, I blame Caval for the downfall of NXT.
If it wasn't for Derek Bateman, NXT would have been the shit.
Like, Caval, if he went on to be decent, I reckon NXT's still around today.
I don't know. Can you imagine a world where we had NXT?
Like season 25 NXT?
Could you imagine, like, Kevin Owens on there, like, doing, like, the keg challenge running around?
How good would it be? You got Elias in the crowd doing the one where they have to sell the programs for the show.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't think we've ever seen Elias and Eli Cottonwood in the same arena.
I don't think I've ever seen Eli Cottonwood in an arena.
I don't think we've ever seen Connor the Rat and Connor from the Ascension in the same place either.
Cool. That's a very good call.
Yeah, man, NXT was so bad. So if that's all of our thoughts on the Nexus storyline, that just about does it for the show. Thanks for listening, sticking through this review of Hell in a Cell 2010. You can find the show on Twitter at Wrestle Hunks Pod. I'm on Twitter as at Source Marlow. Pricey is on Twitter as at Evil Brody Price, and Nat is on Twitter as at Nath Marlow. And you can no longer find Bella's Bliss on Twitter at Bella's Bliss. End of an era.
Almost the whole episode. I really, really thought we were going to get there. Thank you for that.
Yeah, but if anyone wants to follow her, what can we find her at, Pricey?
I'm not going to give you guys the satisfaction.
What is her new?
It's at Undisputed X Era.
You dickheads.
Nice. Do you reckon she changed it because of our
You guys like the same wrestlers.
It's
meant to be.
I like Adam Cole. That's the thing. That's it.
You like Kyle O'Reilly too, don't lie.
Oh, just his championship belt thing, you know? That's cool. Anyway, so this is a rib on me every week, I guess.
Hey, we've got to hit off the fan favourite segments of the podcast. We've mentioned Test, we've mentioned Kevin Thorn, now it's time to mention Bella's Bliss.
If that gets over, then we'll keep doing it. But otherwise, that's it. Week 3, that's it. Last one.
As always, you can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, all services that support podcasts. As we mentioned last week, Spotify will be coming as soon as we have 5 episodes published. Feel free to rate us on iTunes. We've got that perfect 5-star rating at the moment. But it'd be nice to have a few more ratings. So Bella's Bliss, if you haven't rated, rate us.
Actually, yeah, do. If she is listening, please do.
We'll keep shouting you out if you give us a 5-star rating.
I feel like you guys are going to do it anyway.
So this is the part of the podcast where we each suggest a show to cover for the next week's episode that we chuck up into a Twitter poll, and the fans decide what we cover. This week, I'm throwing up NXT Season 1, Episode 1 as my prediction. Nat, what are you putting up for this week?
I've gone with WWE Live from MSG 2015, Lesnar versus Big Show.
Respect.
It's pretty bad.
I've never seen that event, so I'd be keen to watch it.
I feel like I have watched it, so this should be that should be interesting. Knowing that,
I'll just say it's disappointing.
And Pricey, what are you throwing up into the poll?
Just doing a little research over the week, and I found that one of the worst Raws was the Slammy Awards in 2009, hosted by Dennis Miller. I'm still not too sure who Dennis Miller is, but yeah, just from what I've read is that the crowd shits all over him, and he has no idea what he's doing. So, and I don't think he's a fan of wrestling by the way that everyone's written about that episode. So I thought I'd throw that one up there.
That's a good suggestion. The Slammies is always a safe bet to be pretty awful overall, I reckon.
Yeah, and this is during the guest host era, like you mentioned before. So
my least favourite era of all time, I reckon.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So that leads us to our 4th suggestion, which is the wild card suggestion. What are we going to throw up for our wild card this week?
That's a great question. Any ideas?
I got no idea.
Why don't we give this to you, Brandon? You mentioned how that no one goes with your show ideas, so why don't you go 2 ideas this week, and Nat and I will just have 1 each.
All right. Well, I'll have a little scroll through here. Maybe an old school WWE pay-per-view, real old school.
Oh, here we go.
What about In Your House 4 Great White North from 1995?
Why not? Just chuck it in.
I've never heard of it, but let's do it.
It sounds like it would be completely terrible. I don't think I've ever seen an In Your House pay-per-view, so I'm sure it's terrible.
I don't recall ever watching an In Your House, so this will be good.
That's 4 solid suggestions there. Just quietly, I do hope that NXT Season 1, Episode 1 gets up.
I mean, it doesn't have Derek Bateman, like I mentioned before, so I'm all about chicks in America.
So, I think that just about does it for us boys. Unless anybody has anything else to say.
Nah, let's get out of here.
Then, that's all for this week. Stay hunky.